everybody. My name is Clay McLeod Chapman, and I would love for you to join me this week on One Final Twist.
Congratulations on Pub Day.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a chilly one.
Yes.
So it's cold out there.
Are you in New York?
I am,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, we're both in the South. I'm a little bit further south than her, and it's chilly here. I mean, we were in the 30s last night, so I can imagine how cool it is up
Oh
there.
my. Which part of the South?
I am in Tennessee between Memphis and Nashville.
Okay.
I'm in southeastern Kentucky, almost to the Tennessee border.
I grew up in Virginia. I'm a Virginia boy through and through.
Ah,
I was gonna say I'm not far, so like where the Cumberland Gap is in Virginia, West Virginia, and like all that over there, I'm really
Yeah.
close to that.
It's not a bad neck of the woods. I love it down there. I miss it.
All right, so welcome back to One Final Twist, the show where we dig deep into the dark corners of storytelling and talk to a brilliant author today, a powerhouse in literary horror, Clay McLeod Chapman. Today is a big pub day for you for your new YA novel. I just finished, well, didn't just finish, but wake up and open your eyes. And my dad actually just listened to that. So, um,
Oh my God.
I,
You're still talking to me? You're
I know.
still.
So we call those generational reads at my house when we pass them on. But I was actually raised up reading Stephen King when I was like, or my older cousins would read those to us before we could read. And so it's kind of in my blood to like seek these sort of things out, I guess.
Wow.
So, but so I got to make the questions today and got to dig a little deep into some background for you that's bigger than just the horror novels. So we have quite a few questions. Some we're going to try and stump you with and at least get a laugh maybe out of you or
All
a
right.
little
You've
bit of
already got me
rhyme.
laughing.
So,
I'm ready.
all right, Scott, you have it.
so you got started in performance with the Pumpkin Pie Show. The New York Times called it Spooky Campfire for Adults. How did theatrical storytelling shape the rhythm and tone of your novels today? And tell us a little bit about the Pumpkin Pie Show.
Yeah, I mean the Pumpkin Pie Show was kind of my answer to wanting to be in a rock band as a kid. In high school and in college, I always kind of not even aspired to because I had no talent, musical talent. But I loved the kind of the inherent energy in a rock band in a rock show. And the closest that I could personally get to it is theater and performance. And I mean, I was always such a ham and needing attention. So being able to kind of put myself out there in a performative way was always, um, it just seemed natural. And the Pumpkin Pie Show in of itself was essentially just uh, me writing narratives, first person narratives. They were all short stories. But given the fact that they were by default first person narratives, they became kind of ready-made monologue. So there was always this kind of duality to text, where I would tell the publishing people, "Oh, it's a short story. It's totally a short story," but then tell the theater people, like, "Yeah, yeah, this is a monologue." But the text never changed, and uh, I was really fortunate enough that someone out there thought it might be a good idea to take those monologues, those stories, and put them into a collection of short stories. So my first book, like right out of the gates, was a collection of 20 of these pieces that were ready-made performance pieces, but we packaged them as short stories, and it just kind of set the mood and the foundation for what was to come. Apparently, if you're an author, uh, nobody wants to read short stories. They all want to read novels. They want like longer, bigger things. So, in order to get that first collection of short stories published, I had to promise that my next book would be a novel. And I had never wanted to write a novel, never aspired to write a novel. I had no idea how to write a novel. But now I had to. And I basically learned I learned how not to write a novel with my first novel. But I just took those narrative tricks that I was doing with short stories and just tried to assemble it into something long form. And I have been learning those lessons ever since of like voice and like narrators speaking to readers, and it's you grow up down south, like the oral tradition is just always there, like spinning a yarn, like that's just what we do. And I don't know, like to kind of encapsulate that on the page felt like such a that's just something that I always kind of aspired to do.
So your novels, I feel like you have a really good way of making the horror kind of human, like
Hmm.
in it, and like it sinks into the reader, like it's I don't it's not like a jump scare.
Yeah.
So it's there, like it's a keeper, I guess I don't know how to explain it exactly. So how do like what inspired that for you? So was it how, like you said, did you grow up telling tales, or was it books? Were you always a fan of horror? um or are you trying to exercise your own ghosts, or just give them to the readers?
Golly, I mean, I honestly think it might be a little bit of all of the above. Um, I mean, I grew up with horror. I was always the one of the weirder kids on the playground, and that was just something that inherently led to writing for it. And you know, and even more recently, like just the desire of exorcism is a good one. Thinking about it, like particularly with something like Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. But I mean, honestly, like for me, like my rule these days has to be like I have to be scared of it too. Like if I want to write about it and try to scare someone else, like it's got to scare me first. And the way I kind of always pitch it is you always have to have skin in the game. Like, what's your skin in the game? And for me, as a parent, as a citizen in the world that we are living in, like, there's a lot to be scared of, and it makes it very easy to let those fears out.
You talked a little bit about Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. Um, if you've read it, you kind of obviously know what it's based on, but can you talk a little bit about how it came about for you to write a full-length novel based on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the book itself is, very simply like, imagine half the world, half the country is possessed by demons, and what half kind of depends on where you get your news from, where do you get your information from? And quite honestly, speaking frankly, there are members of my personal family that have kind of shifted in their uh, political ideologies so far to the opposite end of the political spectrum that it makes it very difficult to even recognize them anymore as the people who I grew up with and loved. And I wasn't, in kind of going through that and experiencing that, I realized that I wasn't the only one who was having that feeling, and kind of going through that. And a common refrain seemed to be, it was like they were possessed. I didn't even recognize them anymore. They were, and I, there's no nobility in it, but took that so literal mindedly, like just, what if they were possessed? Like, what if these people who we no longer recognize as our grandparents, our uncles, our aunts, our parents, our sons, our daughter, like, you know, like if you just took that kind of idea of like loss of identity by way of information and just quite literally made it demons. That was like that was it.
When so sometimes I do read. I go between like a thriller and a horror. I read we both read a lot. And so thriller writers often have to worry about debunking like the truths that readers will find. Do you like that freeing part in writing what you write, that we're not going to find that? We're not going to like try and we got you.
I mean, I feel like it's a double-edged sword, and there are a lot of readers who aren't happy with me because there are no answers provided, and the majority of my books don't have answers. Um, and I feel like that nice, neat bow that gets presented to you at the end of a book, where everything is all wrapped up nice and neatly. I don't know, like it just feels. It's like a little bit of a pat on the back to the reader, like, yeah, we did it. Congratulations. You finished this book and now you can put it down and move on with your life. And I don't know, for me, like the books that linger and stick a little bit longer tend to be the ones that don't give you the bow, that don't wrap everything up nicely and neatly. And that there's a little bit of like, I don't know if it's cognitive dissonance or just, but there's like a certain tension of like, but wait, wait, whoa, whoa, what happened? And it's not so much that the writer is kind of shirking off a certain amount of responsibility, I don't think, but is kind of leaving it up to interpretation that we could all read the same source material and have wildly different opinions of what it's all about or what happens at the end or who the monster is. And that to me tends to like the level of engagement with the book itself lingers. It just extends just a little bit further, um, which can be totally confounding for a lot of readers. And I get it. I get it. Sometimes you just want to like know, you know, someone's going to pull off the mask and it's going to be Old Man Withers the whole time. But yeah, not my
I
stuff.
like them. I like to like for when I close a book when I'm finished. I like for it to set a couple days, and that my ideas after I finish it have actually changed from that moment to where I've thought about what in the heck did I just read? Like I've got to think on this a hot minute, and then it grows. What
Yeah.
I came away with grows and changes. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
we both read and review a bunch of books. Earlier this year, I went away from my number system or my star system. I don't do that anymore because what's 4 or 5 stars to me is not 4 or 5 stars to somebody else. And I put basically just my thought, and this is what I thought of it. It liked it. I never post negative. That's me. Uh,
Yeah.
are there books that I don't like? Yeah, I've got stacks of them, but I don't talk about them publicly. That's just me.
Yeah.
Uh, but your books, like the Remaking, Ghost Eater, you dig deep into retelling trauma, folklore, media, memories. What keeps you drawing back to the idea that horror is something that we inherit?
Hmm. Um, that's a wild question. It's a good question. I mean, if you think about it, like, I mean, where does it all come from? Like, I'm thinking about my parents, my family. I'm thinking about, generational trauma or the things that we inherit. Um, I love the notion of the kind of like, it's all a cycle. It's all, we're kids and then we're parents and then it's on to the next cycle, maybe we'll be grandparents. And it's I always find it compelling to think of like, you're gonna have to forgive me because there's no formed answer to this question.
No.
But like I'm thinking of who I am to my parents. And then now I'm thinking of who I am to my kids. And, this is going beyond horror, but just thinking specifically of like one person as an individual and like the things that they bring to the table. So like whatever my parents did for me, to me,
Mhm.
I'm bringing that to the table when it comes to like raising my kids. And like I could be like, well, I'm never gonna do X, I'll just do Y. Um, and yet like all of a sudden you can be like, well, that like, oh my God, my son said something that sounds just like, you know, something that my grandparents said or I say or and it's just amazing the kind of like how like things that you can't be responsible for or I don't know like it's just that whole kind of like cyclical nature
Mhm.
to the generations like it's mind-blowing. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old and they're like becoming people like they're human beings but like they have opinions and they have like hormones and it's like all this stuff and it's like oh my God like who are you anymore um so take all of that and just put it under the patina of horror and all of a sudden it's like now it's scarier.
That's
It's
right.
scary enough without like werewolves and vampires but give it fangs and claws and all of a sudden it's like yeesh. That totally didn't answer your question but it's
No,
as
no, no. But
best as I got.
it was an interesting story, though.
Okay, so this one is one that, so when I'm researching and I'm looking for the questions to do this, I did not realize that you did comic book stuff too
Yeah.
until I started kind of digging into you. And then I got on a whole tangent with Carnage. Holy
Oh.
fright, it's a whole thing. So I kind of have a lot of questions in this
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. Okay,
Amazing.
so between the novels, the comic books, screenplays, which one do you enjoy writing the most?
Oh my God, you're gonna make me pick? I have to
Well,
pick my
you don't
favorite?
really have to. You can like them all for different reasons, is what I figured.
Yeah. I mean, I do like them for different reasons. And comics in particular, they're when it's publishing and novels and short stories, like there's a certain kind of there's still a collaborative element to it for sure, but it is at the end of the day like me kind of like carving out the story. But with comics, there's like so much control that gets relented. Like it is a visual medium and both with film and TV work and comic book work, like ultimately my input as the kind of architect of narrative, uh, my my work is not the end result. But there's this kind of alchemy that comes about with whatever storytelling I have done, writing the script and then handing that over to the illustrator and the penciler, the inker, the colorist, the letterer, like it becomes something else. And in the best cases, that something else is kind of like even better. It's like transcending whatever story or narrative I had in my mind. But nobody reads a comic book script and says like, it's done, it's complete, it's finished. Like it has to become something else. And it's the best comics I think are the ones that are even better than whatever I could kind of imagine them to be. And that's what I love about it is that it's it's something greater than any one kind of element component in it. Um, so, to answer your question of like what do I like best? I think if I close my eyes and say what do I want to be when I grow up, it's always going to be like a writer, like a published author. Um, but if like 13-year-old me knew that 300-year-old me was writing comics, like there'd be like a certain kind of like street cred there, like inner like street cred that I'd be like, yeah, good on you, old me.
So I got down. I'm in the after I got to the Venom part. Then now I'm in. Like I'm in.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't really get any further into that. But have you wrote other ones beside me? Are you still in Venom? Are you?
I mean, it's funny. Like every year, I'll be like, "Is this the last year I write for Marvel?" But they've brought me back a couple times, which is amazing. Like, the symbiotes and the kind of the Venomverse has been where I've kind of lingered the longest. I did an ongoing series for a particular character called Scream, who is a like the offshoot of Venom. Um, the Venomverse stuff was definitely probably the most. But I've gotten to write for the Avengers and Spider-Man, and I'm looking at some of the comics behind me just to see if I can remember. Um, yeah, like Iron Man. It it's totally fun to kind of like play in that sandbox with those Marvel characters, and you know, I don't know what's next if I'll ever be able to write for them again, but I'll if they come knocking, I'll say yes.
Okay, one more comic book question, Scott. I gotta
Yeah.
ask this one. Okay.
No, you're fine.
You can ask as many comic book questions as
That's
you
fair. I
want.
mean,
I love it.
it's part of what he writes.
um,
Like now I'm thinking like X. I did some X-Men, Iron Fist, uh, Luke Cage. Like yeah.
I just found out last night we were talking about it how like Spider-Man can beat Venom, and we were like, let's go into this whole thing. So the so the question is, do you think that Carnage can beat Null like Venom
Mm.
did?
Oh my gosh, can Carnage beat Null? Null's the king of the symbiotes. I know, like I would say no, he can't. Um, for all his his kind of nastiness and cunningness, I'm gonna be a naysayer and say Carnage can't. He might think he can, and it might look like he can, but I think Null would come back.
So talking about the comics, you take over the story. How much pressure is that on you to live up to the previous storylines and the character? I mean, that's got to be a lot of pressure on a person.
I've never thought about it like that before, but now that you've put that thought in my head, like I'm gonna be anxious the next time I be like, how am I gonna like fill in Dan Slott's shoes? Um, I mean, ultimately, there's a certain responsibility. What I do feel the pressure of is like, can you tell a story with these characters, whether it's Spider-Man or whomever, and tell it well enough that it kind of fulfills the legacy of those characters, lives up to that legacy, but also kind of forges new narrative territory. There are like we're well past like issue 700 to 800 of Amazing Spider-Man now. And
Yeah.
that's mind-blowing. That's a lot of Spider-Man. And we keep going back to that well, because there's a certain kind of he's like these characters are they're archetypes, they're myth. And it's how you as the writer, the artist, kind of like pushes that story, like what's the uncharted territory for those particular myths, those particular characters. And sometimes it's easier than other times. Like I feel like I've whiffed a lot of different comics, with different characters because the story just didn't click the way uh, I was hoping that it would. And it's not the pressure of, you know, following in the footsteps of other authors or writers. It's the pressure of making the Marvel fans happy
True.
because they will tell you if they are not happy.
So one more question about the comics. So we know the when you publish a book, okay, from the time you turn in your first draft to your agent, and it's 2-3 years before that book actually gets into the hands of readers.
Hmm.
How long does it take for a comic to, once you turn in your story, does it take to get to the hands of fans?
Um, it's less than that. Um, and it really depends on the kind of like the how fast the clock is ticking, but it could be anywhere from like 3 to 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Um, and the difference there is that the key difference between like publishing and comic book writing is that yes, the kind of publishing production period may be a bit more truncated, but you're adding these additional periods of like when I get done with my script and turn that in and it moves on to the next phase, it goes to the illustrator. And that step, like, you know, whether we're talking like one penciler, one inker, one colorist, or those are all the same person. Like every kind of visual element just takes time, because there is someone on the other end of that script. Spider-Man punches Flash, in the face. Someone's got to draw that, and that's time. That, like then someone has to ink it. That's time. Someone has to color it. That's time. Letter it. Time. Like it all, you know, and nobody's on time. Everybody's late, and it is a four-alarm fire most days, uh, of things just needing to kind of get through the process. But once that stuff is all done and we go to production and they're actually making the comic, it's actually pretty quick. Um, you know, you're off to the printers, and I can't give a date to it or a time window to it, but it's swifter once
Yeah.
it's all done. But you just got to get it done.
So tell us a little bit about your writing process and the things that surround you. So I'm assuming, I mean, this is, I'm going to reckon, how about that? That you do not go to like a coffee shop with a little latte, and drink that. But I mean, I'm going to also guess that you're probably not surrounded by anything too creepy, but you might need some little motivation. So,
I mean, this is my office. This is where it all gets done, the magic. And I mean, at this point it's a little messy, but a lot of it is just books, comic books, kind of ephemera from, doing events and going out place like meeting people. Um, it's the rest of the family, my family feels it's weird. So they, I'm in the attic of our house, and everybody kind of just like they're like, "That's Dad's space. Let's leave that space alone." So I think it's creepy to everyone else, but to me, it's just like, oh, it's just like a lot of papers and stuff.
do you start with an outline or how, or what is, how does, tell us kind of like your inspiration, how yours to start? How do you start? How do you get going?
And if I was smart, I would start with an outline. And I find that like the times that I do, I'm a little bit more on the ball. But I guess for me, it's usually like I like to the A and B. Like this is where I'm beginning, and I know this is where I want to end up. And it's the getting there. It's the journey between A and B of just like what's this trip going to be like? Like how are we going to get there? And I tend to meander and like kind of like make pit stops and drift and but then eventually I get to point B, and now I have 500 pages to find a 300-page novel, and it's in there somewhere. I just have to find it. And yeah, so it's kind of a combination of both where I want to have a loose idea of what the structure is, um, so that I can then lose lose myself, get lost.
So with Shiny Happy People, that is your first foray into YA, and I just finished it. I really did like it. So then there's some pretty strong social thoughts in this. Also, was that on purpose, or were you just writing, taking? I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but it's there's another source idea, I guess you could say, of what it's based on, and you really ran with it.
Hmm.
Um, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, thank you for reading it, and I mean, shiny happy people is like it's a body snatcher
Uh,
motif. It's like it's the I feel like I mean like the original title was Pod. Um, it's always been forever be like just a riff off of the body snatchers trope.
yeah,
Um, and that is such a lovely, durable metaphor that like each to each generation a new body snatcher, storyline is born. And
yeah,
50s to the 70s to the 90s to the early aughts to I mean now there's so many that I was kind of presented with an opportunity to kind of like speak to uh how did it start? It was kind of like you know the kind of original concept was like, well, what if there was a like either a prescription drug or a street drug or some kind of drug that was like, turning people into pod people. And it was a really kind of interesting concept because like, we're, you know, luckily, in the we have the opioid epidemic kind of in the rearview mirror. But the kind of toll of that addiction um, with a lot of friends and family, and just like, knowing that there is this kind of notion of, big corporate pharmaceutical companies having created something that was so uh, addictive that it kind of erased
yeah.
one's identity. And I don't know if this is what you were specifically
No, no, no. That
alluding to,
yeah, you're good. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it's I feel like in horror in particular, and to some extent sci-fi, like we have these amazing metaphors, these durable,
mhm,
elastic metaphors like zombies and werewolves and vampires and body snatcher. Like it's like, but it's really kind of the question of like, well, what is the story that kind of is applicable or like can use those metaphors today? Like, what's the story you can tell with those monsters now? And for me, thinking specifically about body snatchers, it was like, well, let's tell this story about kind of the loss of autonomy by way of narcotics.
yeah. You do you did hit on it. I I grew up in the late 70s. I was born in the early 70s, and one of the very first scary movies I ever saw was Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
And you know, it was it was scarring, I guess you could say. Of course, back then we watched what we wanted to watch. I mean, I read Stephen King in high school, that
Hmm.
was part of my senior paper. Well, I graduated in 1990, and things have changed now. Ooh, you don't do that now.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's great that you're able to bring the old Invasion of the Body Snatchers and apply it to today's lifestyles. I mean, I think you did a
Yeah.
great job with that.
Thank you. Was the first one you watched, was it the original or the black
I'm
and white, or was it the
it
Donald
wasn't
Sutherland
it
one?
was in black and white. I'm
Yeah.
thinking it was late 70s, early 80s. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't have but two channels or three channels where I grew up. We had,
Yeah.
of the rabbit ear type antennas, and
Yeah.
it was probably one late Saturday night that Creature Feature was on, and that
Uh,
and the monster, not Loch Ness, but what was the lagoon, the Black Lagoon, that kind of stuff.
yeah. Creature from the
Those,
Black Lagoon.
yeah.
Love
So
it.
So one of the things that readers look for is that when that your setting is actually like you're so immersed in it, it's part of the book, and sometimes the setting or the house or the whatever becomes a character almost.
Sure.
So where you place, the settings of your books, or is that inspired by, or are they inspired by real places that you've been, or is it all something that you've come up with?
Uh, I've done both. Inspired by kind of real locations and writing about real spots, and kind of creating whole cloth new kind of fictional places. Um, we were talking before about I'm from Virginia, and I think my narrative default is always to kind of go back, go back home, go back to Virginia, and whether I'm writing about Richmond or like an actual city versus just like here's a brand new, never existed before town in Virginia. Uh, I've done both, and it just makes me feel comfortable, like being at home, in my kind of home state. Um, and it's funny because uh, Shiny Happy People takes place in Hopewell, which is just kind of like outside of Richmond. But yeah, I can't quit Virginia. I always go back.
So I saw earlier that Ghost Eaters has been optioned for a movie. Can
Mhm.
you give us any kind of update on where that stands? If you have any input now that it's there?
Um, I'm really super lucky. Uh, I have this amazing director. There's this filmmaker named Maggie Levin, who has done a lot of work, um, and has directed a bunch. She's done some TV, she's done some picture work, she's done some anthology work. Uh, but she's been really like adamant about like she's writing it, she's adapting it, she's directing it. Like this is her
Oh,
baby.
wow.
And I love it because I get to just be like her vision, I think is so great that y- I feel like the book is in capable hands. And again, for me, like half of the joy of adaptation is seeing someone else's interpretation of the material. The book's never going to go away. The book doesn't change. The book is static, but film offers a kind of like something new and something different. And you know, I'm not precious about the source material. So for me, like Maggie can do whatever the heck she wants, and I'm gonna be there on opening night with a box of popcorn, and I'm just gonna have a blast because uh, movies are awesome.
Yeah, this is true.
um, I she's writing the script now, and that's all I know. Sony's got it. It's through there's a production company called Crooked Highway,
Yeah,
which is Scott Derrickson, the guy who just directed Black Phone 2, the original Black Phone.
yeah.
Um, so it's just like the team just feels so like they're very passionate about the source material, which is amazing. Um, yeah, I just feel like I'm in good hands.
Good.
Well, since we're on movies, if you could build your dream horror movie marathon, which movies would you watch?
Oh my
And
God.
if you could star in one, which one would you pick?
Oh man. Wow. Um, I mean, always chasing the dragon. Like I'm always trying to find like something new to watch to scare myself. So like, I will skip school and go watch a matinee when everybody else is doing busy stuff. Um, so like I don't know, like for me I'm just like kind of desperate to see something. We just watched the new Predator movie and that was a lot of fun. So maybe we would do a Predator marathon, just watch all of the Predator movies, which would probably get really exciting in the beginning, take a dip, and then get exciting again at the end. Um, and then like as far as starring in one, um, what was funny about the first original Predator was that there's a cameo appearance by the screenwriter Shane Black, who wrote the Weapon movies. He wrote Monster Squad. He's done a lot. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Um, so I love the idea of like writers kind of like showing up in movies. Uh, So maybe I would be in a Predator movie. I'm just gonna say Predator. And all my answers are just gonna be Predators.
Well, you could do a cameo in the Ghost Eaters.
Yeah. Oh my God. I
There you
would
go.
love it. I
You
would
know, you know,
kill to be that in there.
Father King, he was in a bunch of his movies at the beginning. I mean, you could boom, there he was as the priest or the bus driver or whatever, so
Yeah.
the groundwork has been laid.
Can you imagine? My God.
Um, I did a little digging too. Can you tell us about The Devil Inside, which is coming next year?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I like funny enough, I get to write a Harlequin romance. And I like thinking in terms of horror romance and what a love story uh would look like when we're kind of talking about possession, demonic possession. And it's kind of a meet cute situation where a guy meets a girl, uh, and it turns out that who he's met is in fact um, possessed. And so it's not so much that he's falling for the host as much as what's on the inside. And it's a demon.
Oh, that sounds great. And do you have a date on it yet or a projected date?
Yeah, I mean it's coming out August
Oh,
2026.
I'll be on the lookout for that one because that one will definitely be on my arc reader list.
Oh my God, it's
So
dark. It's dark. From what I hear, people are saying it's a very, very dark.
very dark.
Very dark. Who would have thought?
Do
uh,
you have a ghost story or a legend or a southern? Like, there's a lot coming out of Appalachia that, that's scary. So, is there something on your list or in your radar that you would like to write about?
Um, it's so funny. I have distinct memories of as a kid going to like 4-H camp in Virginia, and um, they told like there was the one night we're all sitting around the campfire, and the kind of yarn that gets spun is the this Appalachian folklore called like it's like the legend of the Tailypo. Um, and it's a cheeky story, and I won't bore you with it, but like it's all about a hunter and his two dogs who like catch a creature in the woods, and they shoot it and they eat it. They eat its tail, and the thing comes back later that night to get its tail at whatever cost. And it was terrifying. I mean, I was a kid, and like I just remember my first overnight camp experience, sleepaway camp experience, and just like listening to this story and just being kind of like mortified because like it felt like this Tailypo was right behind me. And I loved it. I was like, that was it. That's all it took. So maybe one day I will retell the Tailypo.
One more kind of for fun type question. Okay, if you could go on a road trip across the country with any author, living or dead, who would you take?
Oh man. Uh I think I might say Faulkner just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Uh I feel like yeah. Or oh my God, I'm brain dead all of a sudden. Flannery O'Connor. I
Uh,
would love a road trip with Flannery. That gets my
Interesting.
vote.
Very interesting. Um, so we'll wrap things up because I know you're a busy fella. I know you've got a thing tonight at the final is what's
Yeah.
the final
Twisted Spine,
Twisted
Twisted
Spine?
Spine.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if people want to get signed copies of Shiny Happy People, where can they get them? Because I want one to go on my shelf.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
that pretty cover, to match these.
You
since
just
you
gotta
scribbled
tackle me.
all you scribbled all into my wake up and
Oh my
open your
God.
eyes, I'll cherish that one forever.
Amazing.
But
Thank you. That's a good question. I need to get on the ball. I mean, the book just came out, so I'm like, oh wow, I have a book that I have to like how am I gonna get people to read this darn thing? Um, I bet Twisted Spine would do signed editions and then they'll ship. But maybe I should ask them first. Um, but yeah, I it's the end of the year, so I'm like trying to think of like where, I'll be doing a couple events. Um, have you guys ever done AuthorCon, the that care in Williamsburg, Virginia?
no,
Brian
I haven't.
Keene, Joe Ripple, they do this wonderful, lovely event every year. And it's going to be in February. And I would wholeheartedly recommend it. It gets a lot of good people out. And I'll be there this
What
year.
was the name of it again?
AuthorCon, I think is the official name of
Oh,
the
okay.
like the weekend, but the uh organization that is kind of responsible for it is called Scares That Care.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm familiar with that. I was able to meet you at you probably don't remember, but Books and Brews, you and Rachel
Yeah,
and Adam, that was a wild weekend.
that was a lot of fun.
So, but yeah, I'll
Yeah,
definitely check that one out.
man. Yeah, there's so many events and kind of like almost like pop-up kind of conventions now that you could just spend your year going
Yeah.
from convention to convention to convention and you could just like January to December it just could go like it's and sometimes do than
There's
one
no
weekend.
off season.
No, I mean even like 2 3 years ago there was an off season but now it's just like winter starts winter ends and 11 months in between like it's just like there's just like it just
Exactly.
goes.
Teresa, do you have anything?
Nope, I'm done.
Well,
You have
Mr.
more Carnage question. I know it. You're like you're just waiting for that
She sent
venom.
we were texting earlier and she's like, I'm not I promise I'm not gonna fangirl. I'm not gonna fangirl. I'm not gonna fangirl.
So are you a big Carnage fan?
Well, it's I'm a Tom Hardy fan too.
Oh yeah. There you go. So okay, just because you brought it up, um the you see the third one, the most recent one?
That one I
Venom.
haven't seen. No.
So I wrote a comic. The art was by this amazing artist, Brian Level, and it was called Absolute Carnage, Separation Anxiety, issue one. And it was
Okay.
just one issue. It was a one-off, but it was a part of the Absolute Carnage uh, run that they did a couple of years back. Um, I don't even know how many years ago that was now. Uh, we did a one-off issue, and it was all of the Life Foundation symbiote coming together and in essence kind of like attacking this family of four. Um, and it's definitely one personal favorite comics. Like top three like most proud kind of issues I've ever written. And Brian's artwork is phenomenal. Um, but the comic itself was such a hit uh, that in the kind of development of these Venom movies, the Tom Hardy movies, uh, by the time they get to part three, they took certain characters from our comic, our one issue, and put them in the movie. So there's like a family of four on a road trip in Venom Save the Last Dance that is kind of quote unquote inspired by characters that we came up with in our little issue. Um, and we had no idea until our editor at Marvel called the weekend of its release. They were like, our editor was like, "Hey, I just saw the new Venom movie. Did you guys know that they used your characters?" And it was like, "No, I had no idea." But we get a little thanks at the end, a little special thanks.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
And so my husband, my youngest daughter, and my sister, they are those comic book readers, the Marvel DC fans that will argue the devil with you because they can like debunk, they watch the YouTubes, they go through it. So I'm like their offspring.
wow,
Like I will get on one, and then I go down the rabbit hole and I figured out I asked all the questions. But they could, if you had like a Trivial Pursuit game that was like Marvel v DC,
yeah,
they would win.
that's amazing. I'll be on their trivia team.
Well, do you have anything else, Mr. Chapman, that you'd like to say?
Thanks for having me. I really
Well, you're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're welcome. We really did enjoy this. I do appreciate it. Keep writing those great horror novels,
Well,
and hopefully we'll run into you at some con in the future.
yeah. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely rest of the year.
You too.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
All
Take care
right.
now.
Bye-bye.